Maybe it's because, quite simply, like most of us, I was brought up not to steal from other people. Maybe it's because I spent so many years in the luxury watch business, a business that I love with a passion. Maybe it's because I've been the victim of violent robbery on 3 occasions myself. Maybe it's because the town that I always thought of as home was recently named as one of the most dangerous places in the country, at least when it comes to wearing a luxury watch. Or maybe it's just because I'm a Londoner that today I'm going back to my roots to share my past, some of my passions, and I'm going to tell you about one of the most difficult times in my life and some of the things that shaped me as a human being. And I'm going back to visit the once safe and strictly working class, but now super wealthy, super trendy and super dangerous streets of southwest London, where almost every house in every street is worth at least £1 million. How things have changed. And these were the streets where neighbours once left their front doors open and a key on a piece of string for their families. Those same streets are now infested with street rats, robbers, moped gangs and muggers, all on the lookout for another victim, and it seems with little chance of ever getting caught. So just what has happened to my home, just what has happened to my beautiful London? Join me on my journey as I travel to unravel what's gone wrong and why we find ourselves in the midst of a watch crime wave the police seem unable to stop.
So Paul, where are we off to today?
We are going into London. We're going to go back to where it all started for me as a kid, but more importantly, what's really motivated this video is the fact that my hometown, once what I would call home, is recently been named by the Met Police as one of the most dangerous areas of London. So we're going to go back there today. We're going to have a little look round. We're going to see if I can spot anyone that I think is suspicious. We know their MO, the way they work, the way they operate. I know exactly how they do it, what they do, and we're going to go and see if we can potentially see anyone that I think is a spotter or if they're up to it. Obviously it's rather ironic, you know, I'm not wearing a watch today for a very good reason, because if we're going into an area that is deemed to be one of the most dangerous in London, you don't want to be wearing a watch. So yeah, we're just going to have a little look around. I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about a lot about my history, where my family come from. I think people are going to find this a very, very interesting episode indeed.
Were you shocked then about the recent crime statistics in your hometown?
Yeah, majorly. I mean, you know, I've been covering watch crime now for 3 years, so I suppose you could say that nothing really surprises me, but I was shocked at the depth and the amount of robberies that had taken place in such a short space of time, a period of a couple of months, covering relatively small part of London. I mean, Hammersmith, Fulham, Kensington, Chelsea, they're not big areas, and they're very affluent areas as well, which is, I guess, part of the problem.
What are you hoping to find or see today?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, like, hopefully, you know, on one hand I don't want to find anything, but on the other hand it will be very interesting to witness spotters who I believe to be spotters. Obviously you've got to be careful about what you accuse people of, but you know, I've got no problem with pointing out someone that I feel is on the lookout. Of course, the police issuing that statement the other day, actually I think is counterproductive. They've given these people a warning now, which might mean that they're off the streets for a few weeks, which I suppose could be part of the police plan, but really I'd like to have seen them got out there and did the job before they spoke about the job. I mean, you know, ultimately, look, Aaron, this is the bottom line. If you're going to try and catch criminals, you don't warn them you're coming first. You do it the other way. And I found the police statement, whilst it was welcoming to know that they're going to put a task force together, if that's true, I was a bit confused and a bit baffled as to why they would announce that up front. And that's the part that bothered me. It seemed more like, you know, telling the public what they want to hear rather than actually cracking on and doing the job.
What type of crime are we talking about? What's been going on?
Well, basically it's street robbery, so mugging in the street, young men, mostly young males, probably aged between about 16 and 30, using electric bikes, mopeds, but the electric bike has become a big friend of the criminal, the street rat, because they're silent. You know, you can come up behind someone and in total silence on these bikes. So, you know, what I'm hoping to find, I'm not really sure, but I guess we'll soon find out.
We're at London Victoria. Where are we off to now?
We are going to jump on the underground. We're going to go to Putney Bridge. That's where we're going to start today's story, if you like.
Will we be at any danger at all?
I don't think so. I mean, we're not wearing watches. I suppose the only danger is we are walking around with a lot of camera equipment in a pretty attractive looking bag. Not attractive as such, but it's a big bag. It's obvious we've got stuff inside it. So, you know, and we are going to an area where these street robbers have been very active, but, you know, I don't feel in danger at all. Look, London's my home, and you don't tend to feel in danger when you feel that you're at home. So, no, I would say not. So we're just coming on to Putney Bridge, which is in southwest London. I'd like £1 for every time I've been across this bridge in my time. It's the River Thames. This big luxury block of apartments here, when I was a kid, that was a council estate. So just across the bridge over on the left-hand side is where my granddad signed up to join the East Surrey Regiment in 1914. He was only 16, joined the army, went off to France. The pub over there is the Star and Garter. That featured in the popular British comedy show Minder. That's the River Thames again. And if you look at that church tower up there, you can just see it. That featured in the 1976 film Omen, The Omen, with Gregory Peck. And even to this day, you find a lot of people go hunting down on the banks of the Thames here for treasures from the past. And they find them as well. So just across the river over there was featured in the 1971 film 10 Rillington Place, where Sir Richard Attenborough played Reginald Christie, the serial killer that was caught just right across there, leaning against these green railings as I am now. And a police officer walked past him. This was back in the late 1940s, I think, early 50s, and recognised him as the most wanted man in Britain, and arrested him and took him off to the police station, and I believe he was later hung for for his crimes, right there. That's just where he was caught. So we're currently in Gowan Avenue in Fulham, Southwest 6, and if the name Gowan Avenue doesn't mean anything to you, you're probably going to be reminded when I tell you all about it in just a moment. April the 26th, 1999, the TV presenter, Crime Watch presenter Jill Dando was shot dead on her doorstep at 29 Gowan Avenue, which is just down the road from where I was working at the time. That was one of my brief periods when I had a break from watch stealing. I was actually working at Fulham Football Club alongside Mohammed Al Fayed, and Jill was tragically shot dead on her doorstep. And about a week after that happened, the police came to visit me at the football club. And they wanted to know, or they was trying to trace everyone that had used their mobile phone within a square mile of the murder. And of course, I was one of the people that had used my phone in this area on that day. It wasn't so much a question, it was just more a clarification as to why I'd used my phone. And they was checking everyone. There was a lot of people at the club that they spoke about, or spoke to, I should say, about the use of their mobile on that morning. And in a moment, we'll be outside the house where that tragedy took place. And that's the house, number 29.
So Paul, where are we now?
We are in Bronze Art Road in Fulham, Southwest 6, and it's quite emotional for me really, because the house behind me with the white door there, number 22, is where my dad was born on the 2nd of August 1937, and I spent a great deal of my childhood in that house behind me. Got a great little story actually, Aaron. Way back in the day, these houses now are worth probably about £2 million ago, but back when my nan and granddad lived there, most of the property was rented, and the houses are quite big, so they would split them in half, and they lived in the bottom half, and an Italian lady called Renata, I've never forgotten her name, she lived upstairs, and they shared the same front door. And as I say, Renata was Italian, and she was a lifelong childhood friend of the famous actress Sophia Loren, who was a big Hollywood star. And I don't honestly know what year it was, but I was a youngster myself, very young, baby in arms pretty much. And while she was in London filming, Sophia Loren pulled up here in a limousine with her driver, knocked on that door over there, number 22, to see her childhood friend, Renata. And my nan, my granddad, my mum and dad, we were there at the time, and Sophia Loren held me as a baby. How much of a baby I was, I don't actually know. I might have been 2 or 3. I honestly, sadly, don't remember a moment of it, but an interesting story. But these days, these houses are for the wealthy. People that live in these streets are generally very wealthy. And when I was a kid, this was strictly a working class area. Most of the families that lived there were very much working class. And my granddad lived there until about 1977 when he passed away. And that would have been the last time that, that sort of era was the last time that I ever visited that house. So we're in Finley Street in Fulham, and this is where I actually have my very first memory. Everyone's got a first memory, right? And this is the road where my first memory is, and it was walking along the road, the other side of the road there, with holding my dad's hand and my granddad's hand, so I would have been in the middle as a 5-year-old, as we made our way down this street to a certain football club. And my first memory, the first thing that ever I recall in my life, is a sight that I'm going to show you in just a couple of moments, and it's a picture that has never ever left my heart or my mind. So I'm walking down this road with my granddad and my dad, 1966. I'm 5 years old. I can smell the smells. I can remember those smells in my mind right now, and the sights. And I looked up as a 5-year-old, and that is what I saw. And it's a sight that will never, ever leave my mind.
So Paul, how come Fulham means so much to you?
Well, I think like most working class lads, you know, we all have our football clubs, and this is the club that my granddad supported as a boy. In fact, after the First World War had ended, he actually helped put the roof on the Hammersmith end, and that was when he had one arm. He lost his arm in the war, and then of course my dad was brought up as a Fulham fan, and then myself, you know, 5 years old, the first time I ever came down here. And you know, there's an old saying about football clubs, you know, you can change your house, change your car, change your boat, change your bike. Some people even change their wives, but you never change your football team. And a lot of people in times of difficult times during their lives will come to places like this, their football club, where they've maybe got so many memories. And it was a really sad time for me in 1994 when I lost my dad. I remember the night after he died, and you're at a real loss. You know, you want to be close to him, but you can't be. You want to have some memories. And I drove from where we lived to Fulham with my mum and my wife and what is now my oldest daughter, just to sit outside this ground for 10 minutes in reflection of all the times that we'd spent here together, and you know, the joys that we'd had here together, but also the pain as well. Supporting Fulham's never been easy. And we pulled up that evening, and the only thing, you know, when you're in that situation, you're grieving, you know, you do things that people might think are a bit strange, but the only thing that I could think to do that night really was to bring my dad's scarf back to the ground here and tie it to these gates. Just as a little final tribute to a man that I love to this day and sorely miss. We used to always try and go into gate 36 or 37. For some bizarre reason, we always felt it was lucky. I don't know why. We never used to win a lot back in the day, so bit of a crazy thing to do, I suppose, but superstition and football goes together, doesn't it?
Where are we now, Paul?
We are just off the King's Road in Chelsea. Thanks. And we're really now right in the middle of where all of this crime has been taking place. This is the hotspot. The square mile or two that we're in now is really where the vast majority of these street crimes have been taking place. Look, I've got to be honest, look, we've been walking around all day. It would make for great theatre for me to make out that we've seen people that we suspect, but the truth of the matter is, it's been really quite pleasant, hasn't it? It's, you know, there's not been...
Haven't spotted any suspects?
No suspects. I've spotted no spotters, as it were.
People.
You know, it'd be, like I say, a great storyline for me to say, oh, we've seen this or we've seen that. Well, the truth of the matter is, you know, it's been a normal day in central London. It's hard to comprehend walking around these lovely streets, and you know, they're so wealthy as well. You know, the property around here, the shops around here. You know, we're in sort of, you know, 10 quid for a cup of coffee territory. You know, so it's an affluent area, but I think that's part of the problem. You know, I think people obviously are targeting these areas because there are so many potential victims to choose from. I mean, I've stopped and spoken, as you know, to a couple of people that have been wearing nice watches, and they both said thank you. They both said that they were unaware of what's been going on. Thanks. But then one of them turned around and said, oh, actually, 2 of my friends have been done. So it makes you wonder, you know, if they actually taking notice of what's happening around them. But look, so far at least, we haven't seen anything today. But when I look around at the amount of people that are walking around with expensive watches on in this area in particular, it's no wonder that they target areas like this where there's a lot of visible wealth.
What are the actual statistics in relation to watch crime?
It was 160.
Is that watch crime?
160 watch robberies in the Hammersmith, Fulham, Kensington and Chelsea, part of Westminster area, which you know, when you look at London as a whole, it's a very small area. It's a very concentrated number of crimes. And that was, what was it, a couple of months, I think that was, in a couple of months period. So the gangs are obviously very active around here. The thing is that the police making that statement they made the other day, saying that, you know, they were going to come down on them. Well, I suppose to some degree you could say it's a good thing that they've made that statement, because it might turn people off of coming to this area. But I think, in all honesty, they'd have been better to have not said anything and just get on with the job, because I don't see there was a lot of mileage in warning them. Although maybe that was their ploy, was to warn them and hope that with the criminals knowing, that the police know, and that they're having a higher profile. Having said that, we've been walking around here all day and we've seen one police car all day and a forensic crime lab van. That was it. So to see one police car in central London.
I mean, we've been here since what?
We've been here for a few hours.
Yeah.
We've been here 5-6 hours now. It's a long time to see one police car.
See more parking wardens.
Definitely more parking wardens. But that's not. I want to make it clear, that's not the fault of the police. You know, I mean, when you walk around a city like this and see how many people that are here and potentially what's going on, you got to say you can't envy their job. You know, they got to be. You know, they're obviously under-resourced. But I don't see, at the moment, for the moment at least, I don't see this level of crime in London, in this part of London. I don't see it dropping, because there's not enough police presence. There's not enough visible deterrence, and the amount of people that I've seen wearing expensive watches today, particularly in this area, is mind-boggling. I mean, we've got a table very close to us right now, without pointing fingers, but there's expensive watches being worn, you know, and it's places like this where
I bet if you asked them though if they're aware of
the problems
of the level of crime, I don't think they would even
probably
be aware
not.
of it.
Yeah, probably not. So, you know, this is why it's important that people keep continuing to spread the word, and you know, hopefully as a community we can fight back. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a hard job, because as we know, these people come and go very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. And we just jumped on a bus a minute ago, and there was 4 young lads on there, and 2 of them were wearing tags, right?
Yep. Two out of the 4 that got on.
Two out of the 4 were wearing tags. So, you know, these lads are around. They're obviously on tags for a reason. It's not because they were late home one night, you know. But we'll see. Look, we'll see. We're going to have a little walk up and down the King's Road in a minute, and I'm just going to maybe point out what the spotters will be looking for. If we was acting as spotters today, what will we be looking for and how many potential victims will we find? I've got to say that in the last last hour say, I've seen potentially at least 5, probably 7 potential victims that will be relatively easy pickings. So it is what it is. So we're in one of the streets where a street robbery took place just recently, and when you look around at the surroundings, I mean, we're in one of the lushest parts of West London, super expensive property, but like I said, that's probably partly the problem. But listen to the peace and tranquility. It's so quiet right now. There's barely any cars, let alone any bad guys, and it's hard to believe that in this very street, pretty much in this spot, someone was robbed recently for their Aldermar Pigay. These people are obviously walking around in complete innocence. They have no idea of the dangers that we're in. And we was talking a little while ago, back when we were sitting having a coffee, and I didn't want to say too much at the table, but in front of us there was a lady sitting there. She had an OP41 on. Behind her was a young man wearing a deep sea dweller, 12660, sitting there completely oblivious, it seems, to the dangers that are clearly in this area. I've got to tell you, it's mind-boggling. Since I last turned the camera off, I spotted a middle-aged lady wearing a 5711 Patek right in front of me. There was a gentleman walked past me with a gold day-date, Rolex day-date. This is simple, rich, easy pickings for the bad guys. Now, I know some of you might say, well, why are you telling people that this is the place to go and steal a watch? Well, it sounds to me that the bad guys already know. I think what strikes me more than anything is probably the lack of awareness that these people appear to have. No attempt at covering up what they're wearing or being aware of their surroundings. We literally walked behind the lady wearing the 5711 for about 30, 40 yards, me and Aaron. She wasn't even aware that we were there, and if we were the wrong people, it would have been as easy as that to take that watch from her. And I'm coming to the conclusion that what the people of Hammersmith and Fulham, Kensington and Chelsea, what they need is a public warning system. They need the police to make them aware. They need to have signs in the street that these people are in operation here and around this area. We saw a sign earlier on about fraud, and you see a sign sometimes about pickpockets. But I think what we need right now are signs warning locals and tourists about the potential for watch robbery. And anyone watching this that wants to know or needs to know what they should be looking out for, as always, it is mopeds, and these days electric motorcycles, young men usually in pairs or two up on a moped or a motorcycle. Those are the things that you've got to look out for.
Paul, let's have a summary of today.
It's funny, really. I thought that I'd feel a little bit more emotional than I did going back to sort of like really back to my roots. But to be honest with you, you know, apart from the football club bit, really, I think I've lost a bit of connection with London over the years. You know, I've been gone a long time now, you know, and it's not the city that it once was, and you know, the people that I knew have long moved out, but still a great city. I mean, look, we talk about the dangers, but let's talk about the positives for a minute. You know, Aaron, it still remains one of the greatest cities in the world for me, you know. It's just a shame that we've got the problem that we've got, and ultimately something's got to be done about it.
I think it's the majority of people, especially in this area,
What, wearing nice watches?
wearing nice watches, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what London's like. I mean, you know, if you throw a stone up in the air, it's going to fall and hit a Submariner or a Datejust. You know, there's so many people wearing nice watches, which is, you know, obviously one of the reasons why these areas have got the problems that it appears to have. You know, we've spoken to a few people today. None of them really wanted to appear on camera, but they are all really friendly and, you know, happy to speak to us. And I think probably the general consensus of opinion that I'd come away with is I think it was split 50-50. You know, some of them were like completely unaware that the crime was going on. Others were aware, but didn't really overly seem bothered about it. I don't think any of them really knew the depth of the problem. Yeah, the extent of the problem. You know, when we mentioned the figures, they were like, really? Wow, you know, we didn't know that. But yeah, obviously a lot of people are aware, but I think as many that are aware probably aren't. And that's the frustrating thing for me. You know, 3 years I've been at this, trying to warn people of the dangers, and just to be aware of your surroundings, you know, make sure that when you're in the wrong places or, you know, whatever, you keep your watch covered up. But we've seen a lot of vulnerable people today. I mean, if we were spotters, and I was saying to you earlier, if we were spotters, we saw some proper victims
Coming
today.
home with quite a few watches.
Yeah, we'd have been coming home with a lot of watches, you know, because, you know, when I talk about a victim, you know, some people, I always say, look, if you look like a victim, you're probably going to become one. And I've spotted a few victims walking around today with some expensive watches, but, you know, like I'm always saying, it is what it is. We can only just carry on with what we're doing, carry on the good work, and hopefully the police will pull their finger out and get the grips with it. But it's not easy for them, you know. In a big city like this, you know, I know I have a dig at them, but, you know, I do understand this, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more serious crimes going on in London than just watch theft.
Do you think if everyone that was wearing a nice watch today, if they were aware of the extent of the crime, would they stop wearing the watch?
Well, I don't know,
would they
Aaron,
be more
really.
careful, or?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke to a couple from Canada, didn't we? And ironically, she was wearing a Datejust and he wasn't wearing anything. And we spoke to them, and they actually really wanted to do an interview with us, but bless her, she hadn't got her makeup on. She said, oh, I can't be on camera without doing my makeup, you know. But their story was really good. I mean, they was like aware of what was happening, and it didn't put her off. And I applaud her for that. You know, I mean, look, we shouldn't let these people stop us from wearing our watches. You know, my message to people is not don't wear your watch, it's just be careful where you wear it and who's looking at it, because this is the problem. I walk around looking around just like the spotters do. Now, I'm a good guy, the spotters are bad guys, right? So how many people today have I pointed out to you and gone, there's a victim waiting to happen? You know, we could have gone home with a couple of $100 for watches today.
Easy.
If we were that type of people. And that's the thing that bothers me, the people that walk around seemingly totally unaware, you know, middle-aged and older women on their own, walking around with $100 watches on. In any city in the world, it's not just London, Aaron, it's not just London, it's any city in the world. Those days are really over, I think, at the moment at least. I certainly wouldn't want one of my loved ones walking around any city on their own wearing an expensive watch like that. It's just due diligence and being sensible, you know.
I think the majority of people wearing the nice watches they wear on their own, weren't they?
Yeah, oddly enough, they were. And earlier on we were saying that we hadn't seen a lot of police today, and funnily enough in the last hour, to be fair, I've actually seen quite a lot. London's still a great place. I haven't seen anything today that would have remotely worried me. I could have worn a watch up here today without any problems at all. But the statistics don't lie, and they are the Met Police's own statistics, and that tells us that there is, I don't know if they use the word epidemic, 160 watch robberies in, you know, just a few square miles of London in a very short space of time. There's obviously a very active team in the area working, and let's just hope the police can catch them and put them away, because until they start, this is the bottom line, until they not only catch these people but start to give them sentences that reflect,
Will make them learn the lesson.
yeah, the crimes that, because with criminals it's always risk versus reward.
And if the risk is, what, a year, 2 years?
Well, it's the bottom line, Aaron. Look, if you go out robbing expensive watches and you get away with it for, say, let's say a year, you steal £1 million for watches, you get caught, you do 2 years in jail. Well, it's not going to be easy to earn £500,000 a year out on the street. You know, doing a normal job. So
people get a loan of 10 grand and pay that back over 5-10 years. So.
Exactly. You know, so it's risk versus reward. You know, the courts are just as much to blame. They've got to put these people away and make an example of someone. And until that happens, we're probably, you know, not going to come out of this phase. You know, there are things happening down the line that is definitely going to help. But for the moment, the message remains the same to everyone: be careful.
Do you ever go out in London wearing a watch?
I have done recently.
You know.
Yeah, I have done recently. I've sort of like got to the stage now where I'm thinking, do you know what? Screw them. I'm just not going to give in to them. I'm going to wear my watches. But I still, you know, I wear the Ploprofs, the Omegas. Look, I wouldn't want to lose them, but they're not as attractive to the street rats as the APs and the Rolex and the Pateks. Yeah, and like obviously I'm fully aware of the dangers and who to look out for, what to look out for. So I'm probably, in some ways, I'm less at risk because I know what to look for.
Yeah.
But in other ways, I'm more at risk because people recognise me, and that's a problem all in itself. But look, it's been a great day. I can't wait, to be honest with you, to get back to Brighton. I mean, I've always called London my home. It is still my home. Like, my heart's still in London in a lot of ways. But coming up today and looking around, you know, where I come from, where I grew up, and you know, I must say that it wasn't as emotional as perhaps I thought it might be. And I suppose slowly but surely, is London leaving my heart? I guess you probably could say it is. Really, it's not the city it once was, but I still love coming here. I love coming here for the day, but I probably enjoy going home now more than I do coming.
Good to get back home, yeah.
The journey's better than the arrival, as they say. So I think, you know, hopefully everyone's watching today has enjoyed it, learnt something, and
definitely done enough walking.
Yeah, we've definitely done enough walking. We'll get back to Brighton, and we'll have to come up with what's next for episode 4 of The Life of Brighton.
That I love London so. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I'll think of her wherever I go. I get a funny feeling inside of me, just walking up and down. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London town. Come on, sing it with me. Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner that I love London so.
That I love London so.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner.
Maybe it's because I'm a Londoner
that I think of her.
That I think of her
Wherever I go.
Wherever I go.
gets a funny feeling inside of
I
me.
gets a funny feeling inside of me.
Just walking up and down.
Just walking